all the teams, all the time. It's Pro Football Wire's nightly recap with John Lund. Make sure you follow us on social media at PFB Wire and subscribe. Like and turn on your alerts on YouTube at Pro Football Wire. Now with the latest news around the NFL, here's Johnny.
Oh, yes, thanks for joining us. Week 5 is in the books. As you can see right there, Pro Football Wire, all the teams, all the time. John Lund with you. You wouldn't have thought in 2018 that would be the big story right there. Baker Mayfield, 29-33, 379, 2 touchdowns. The Buccaneers beat the Seahawks 38-35. Seattle still can't win at home. 28-34 with Sam Darnold, 341 yards and 4 touchdowns. Welcome into a Week 5 recap. As you can see, that is one of the main stories. We've got top 5 stories on the board right there. Welcome in. We'll get to them in just a second. Your studs, your duds, and some of the takeaways, as there are no more unbeatens. Maybe that is the big story, but May Day at the bottom of number 5. But welcome in. It is Pro Football Wire. John Lund with you, all the teams, all the time. Thank you so much for joining us on YouTube, at PFB Wire on social media. So check us out, Twitter. We're getting all that going and everything. Make sure you're following us at PFB Wire, and we'll get that up as well. So we're starting to get that up and running. It's a cool site on Twitter. We're working on the website as well, but we'll give you daily news on the NFL, including recaps every Sunday night. The 5 stories you need, the studs, the duds, and the takeaways from what you need to know from week number 5. So again, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure those alerts on. Make sure you hit the alert button as well, which helps the algorithm. We're on the Bay Area Sports Collective as well as X at John Lund Radio. And very soon I'll just move that over to at PFB Wire. So again, Pro Football Wire on YouTube, at PFB Wire on Instagram, and on Twitter/X. So make sure that you join us. All right, the top 5 stories. I'm going to go off the board a little bit. As you can see, the board to the right there. Top 5 stories, Bucs and Seahawks throwback. And I will do that. I will talk about that at length today. And more so, not just the 2 guys that you're seeing right there, but where they were picked in the 2018 draft, busts. And it does make a difference where you go, what kind of organization you're with. So we'll get on in all that in a second. But you probably just watched Sunday Night Football at the end there, and that's why there are no more unbeatens, because New England went into Buffalo, as crazy as this sounds, the same team that lost to the Raiders, who are atrocious, maybe the worst team in football. Is there is only one team that is winless, that is the New York Jets, and there are no more teams that are undefeated. So I guess the 72 Dolphins, as they always do, and people can call it petty, I wouldn't. They're the only undefeated team in history, the 72 Dolphins. They can pop the champagne or whatever. They do. There are not many of them left, but like Larry Zonka and a number of guys are still around. So I guess they can pop their champagne tonight. As it was a May Day, or as I say at number 5 there, the top 5 stories, a May night. Drake May, who, why would you see him a whole lot? New England hasn't been very good. Last year they sure weren't. They went with a one-and-done coach. They bring in Mike Vrabel, which they should have done in the first place anyway. A former Patriot who is organized and can get things done. He won with the Titans. They've got a good enough defense, and that's what he builds anyway, to stay in football games, and that's what happened. And then Drake May was 13 of 14 in the second half, and like I said, I haven't seen a ton of Drake May, I'll be honest with you. New England's not on national TV a whole heck of a lot, and so there's no reason to watch New England, but in the second half, he was particularly impressive. He goes 22 of 30, 273, got sacked 4 times, no touchdowns, but more importantly, no interceptions. And he made one of the best throws you could ever make. And I'm not being Chris Collinsworth about this. Going to his right, he's dragging a 320-pound man, stiff-arming him, and throws a ball to Stephon Diggs that helped them get into field goal range to beat the Bills. The Bills didn't have much of an opportunity. 20 seconds left. That kickoff rule can either be boom or bust on that whole thing, but then they had a holding call on top of it, and Buffalo couldn't overcome that tonight. So New England goes into Buffalo and wins, and they had those whiteout uniforms. Those Bills whiteout uniforms are sweet, but they don't do the trick. 23-20 on Sunday Night Football, and give Drake May a ton of credit. Give the defense for the Patriots a ton of credit. Give Mike Vrabel a ton of credit. Stephon Diggs had 10 catches, which is the most for 146, which is the most for a former Bills receiver taking on the Bills. So, look, I'm not saying New England's going to win that division, but if you look at the Jets where they are, Miami, who has the most likely coach to be fired this year, and Mike McDaniel, and I'll show you that in a second. I want to tell you a little bit about Mike McDaniel because I was around him a little bit when I covered the 49ers, but New England with a huge win tonight. So I don't know that that's the top story, but the top story probably is that there are no more undefeated teams in the league, and you wouldn't have thought Buffalo, and we do this all the time before the season starts, we go win-loss, 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 win-loss. Okay, they're going to win that one. Who would have thought on Sunday Night Football wearing their rivalry jerseys, that their outfits, which I, by the way, would have loved to have seen in the snow because then you couldn't have seen anybody. But they had to wear them before the snow started falling. But who would have thought that New England with Drake May would have went in there and beat Buffalo? And like I said, I'm not saying New England's a playoff team, but in that division, they're the second best team. And also with Mike Vrabel there, settling this team down with the defense they have. They're improving their offensive line. Obviously, Will Campbell out of LSU. Drake May looks like the real deal. When you go into Buffalo and do what he did and have that final drive the way that they did, Buffalo gets the field goal. They tie the game, and then New England goes right down the field behind Drake May in that great play he made at the end and beats Buffalo 23-20 in their place. And again, Drake May, coming out party for Drake May. He goes 13 for 14 in the second half and outduels Josh Allen. The other undefeated team was the Philadelphia Eagles, and they looked like they were cruising early. As you can see right there, 17-3. They're cruising right along. They're at home. They're taking on Denver. What's the big deal? And the Broncos come back and win that one 21-17. And I'll show you standings in a minute, and we'll get to it a little bit later, the kind of the takeaways. But Denver's a team that lost to the Colts with a field goal. They lost a couple of games that they shouldn't have, so they were better than the 2-2 record that they came in with. Still didn't think they'd come back with Philly up 17-3. And I got to be honest with you, something's just not right in Philly. I don't know if you saw the post game, but A.J. Brown, this is the whole thing, and Pat Riley called it the not the disease of success, whatever. But essentially, what he was saying is that once people win a Super Bowl, you're striving and striving and striving and striving. And now Philly's the champs, and everybody kind of goes, well, what about me? Now they become, it's 1, 2, 3 me. I was team, and we won a championship, and maybe a couple of championships. Now it's kind of the disease of me. It's, okay, now I'm a brand, and I want the ball more. And A.J. Brown's getting frustrated, and they're trying to tell him in Philadelphia, like, dude, we're winning games. Don't worry about it. But then after the game, it kind of sounded like he blamed Jalen Hurts for missing him on a ball. I mean, usually what happens is you say, I'm not going to say nice things to the media. But again, if you don't know me, I've been in the media for 30 years, been covered numerous Super Bowls, big games, Final Fours, all these kind of things, NBA Finals, Stanley Cups. And normally what happens with a team atmosphere is, unless it's, again, the Jets are 0-5. I expect out of a locker room that's 0-5 like the Jets to have some animosity in it, and it starts to crack, and then all hell breaks loose by the end of the year. We're almost a third of the way through the season. Philadelphia lost their first game, but this has kind of been going on the entire season of A.J. Brown not really happy with his role. And you're starting to show cracks through that whole thing. And look, Philly's so talented that they might be the team. And we'll talk about this again at the end. At the end of every Sunday night show, what I'll do is I'll give you my Super Bowl teams at the end of that week. Just have a little bit of fun with it. It doesn't mean that, whatever. A lot of people do it at the beginning. I'll do it as the year goes on because it's a little bit more fun to say, okay, these are my Super Bowl teams now from what I'm seeing. And right now, not because they lost today, Philly for the first time all season long is not my Super Bowl team. And it's not, look, they'll come around. Vic Fangio, their defensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts is a winner. They got a ridiculous amount of offensive talent, but Saquon Barkley scored a touchdown to make it 17-3. They didn't see the end zone again. I don't know if they were just content. Denver stepped up. That's a good team Denver has. I saw them in training camp against the 49ers in joint practices. That's one of the best defenses in the league. And I don't know if Philadelphia fell asleep because Denver was coming in 2-2. And again, Denver could have easily come in undefeated. A couple of weird losses that they had to the Chargers and to the Colts, and they could be undefeated. So Denver's a good football team. I don't know if I'm 100% on board with Bo Nix, who played well today, but in terms of, are they going to take the division from the Chiefs? They could. They're talented enough. But at the end of the day, it usually comes down to the quarterback. I thought the Chargers, who lost again today, they were up 10-0. They got 27 straight to Washington, which Jalen Daniels is back. But it wasn't like Daniels ripped it apart today. It was just for Washington nice to have him back. Deebo Samuel had a nice game, 6 for 99. made some nice plays. So just to look at the AFC West real quickly, is going to be Denver, is going to be Kansas City. It sure as hell ain't going to be the Raiders, but I thought the Chargers early in the season were looking really, really good, and right now they've got big questions themselves. But anyway, let's stay on track. 2 undefeateds go down today, Philadelphia, and it seems like they have some locker room issues in Philly, so we'll keep an eye on what's going on with Philadelphia. Are they still my Super Bowl favorites in the NFC? For the first time, they won't be. And again, we do that every single week at the end of the show. We'll just have a little bit of fun and say, if it were today, which it's not, your Super Bowl favorite. So, top 5 stories today. I just gave you the undefeateds. I'm going out of order. I gave you May Day, but it's actually May night. Drake May's coming out party. I know a lot of people, I'm sure with New England, like him, and certain people have seen him play a lot. I haven't seen Drake May play a lot. Saw him at North Carolina a bit. I have seen him some, but tonight he played an excellent game, and he played a flawless second half, and they go in and beat the Bills. So those are the big stories of the day. Let's start looking at some of the big stories from the top. No, number one story, and again, just to go a little bit in on this, as you can see, Baker Mayfield, 29-33, 379, 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 28-34, 341, and 4 touchdowns. A critical interception marred his day, or scratched his day a little bit, because at the end, the ball got tipped or hit a helmet, actually, when Seattle was trying to drive for a go-ahead field goal at 35-35. Neither defense could stop the other team today. And Tampa Bay got that interception and turned around, and they got the field goal of their own. So they beat Seattle 38-35. Seattle is a Jekyll and Hyde team in the NFC. I thought they would win that game. They'd be tied with the 49ers. They're now 3-2, and underrated are the Buccaneers. But I want to go more so about Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Remember, Baker Mayfield, first overall pick in 2018. Sam Darnold, third overall pick in 2018. Mayfield goes to the Browns. Stinks. Well, that's a graveyard for quarterbacks. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to succeed in Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel, we'll get into that a little bit later. And he tried. And by the way, we had a full day, and I mean a full day. We had the games over in Europe. We had the late games. So from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., if you were one of the few to make it all the way through, congratulations to you. That you had the ability, the fortitude, the strength to lay on your couch, sit on your couch, whatever the case may be, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you're one of those people, congratulations. That is absolutely admirable for you. I watched most of the games. The quad boxes, by the way, are the greatest thing ever, especially when you're doing a show like this. But let's stay on track. Baker Mayfield taken first by Cleveland, the graveyard of quarterbacks. Goes to Carolina. He's there with Sam Darnold, by the way. Goes to the Rams. Remember that Monday nighter? He played like one game for the Rams, came back in a Monday night game. Unbelievable. And then goes to Tampa, and it was kind of unremarkable. Okay, let's see what he can do. And he's just gotten better and better and better and better. And now he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I don't know. Mount Rushmores and lists and all this shit. It's not really me. But I'm just going to tell you that when he plays like today, he's a top 4 to 5 quarterback. He is probably a top 10 or 12 quarterback, maybe even more than that. And what it tells you is, and in Sam Darnold's situation, Jets completely screwed up. Remember, he said he's seeing ghosts. He goes to Carolina, as did Mayfield, plays a little bit better. Goes to the QB whisperer, Kyle Shanahan, backs up Brock Purdy, then goes to Minnesota last year, was great. And for some reason, everybody thought at the beginning of the season, many people who think they know the NFL thought, you know what? Geno Smith to the Raiders, Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, that's a downgrade in Seattle. Absolutely has not been. Again, he had the interception that went off the helmet at the end. For him, unfortunate, but he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I tell you this all the time. There are 4 great quarterbacks in this league. And then it depends. I mean, I'm looking at quarterbacks right now and what they did. Matthew Stafford, a lot of times I would say, is the 5th best quarterback. In the loss against San Francisco on Thursday night, 30 of 47, 389, 3 touchdowns. You can't blitz him. You can't do any of those kind of things. He sees it right away. He's been around so long. Baker Mayfield, 29 of 33, as I just showed you, 379. Mac Jones as a backup. Maybe he's the next Darnold. Maybe he's the next Baker Mayfield, because after he leaves San Francisco, he's going to be people are going to want him. And he signed a 2-year deal in San Francisco. So there might be teams that offer the 49ers some pretty good draft capital to get Mac Jones on their team. He goes 33 of 49, 342, 2 touchdowns. Then Darnold, 28 of 34, 341, 4 touchdowns. Justin Fields in a loss, we'll get back to that. Jalen Hurts is always solid. Drake May. As I just told you, Cam Ward, their first win. Jared Goff is underrated. Josh Allen. So I mean, go on down the line. But like I said, there's the 4 top ones that we all know. And then 5 could be Stafford. 5 could be Baker. 5 could be Darnold. 5 could be, depending, on how everybody plays in a certain week. But to think of Baker Mayfield, to think how desperate teams are for quarterbacks in this league, and they can't find them. They're continually trying to draft quarterbacks. And it makes a massive difference where you go. Baker Mayfield goes to the graveyard of quarterbacks, Cleveland. Doesn't succeed. Not a surprise whatsoever. It's a shit organization. They don't know how to develop quarterbacks. They don't put the right people around that quarterback. They don't allow the quarterback to develop. Oh my God, he's a bust. Goes to a place like Tampa. They've got talent around him. They've got a good organization. They've got a winning organization. He takes over eventually for Tom Brady. And look where the Buccaneers are. Maybe the most underrated team in the NFC. Last week after Seattle won, it was like, okay, they're the most underrated. Now it's going to flip over to the Buccaneers. They're going to win that division almost by default. I know that Carolina's not as horrid as they've been. And New Orleans got their first win today. Atlanta's a little bit of up and down in what they do. But look, Tampa's winning that division. And they're normally that team. It's like, yeah, they're kind of tough to play, whatever. They might be that team that you don't want to play in the playoffs because Baker just wasn't missing. And he's a winner, and he's scrambling around, and he's firing guys up. He's like he was at Oklahoma. I mean, he's just – nobody kind of respects him to the level, but he goes into Seattle, which for some weird reason, Seattle can't win in Seattle, but they can on the road. But Baker Mayfield just made enough plays today, and Darnold made one mistake, and that was a hell of a matchup. But my point overall is here are these teams scrambling for quarterbacks constantly, reaching here, reaching there, being desperate, drafting year after year after year. And I think what teams have to realize is, look at Darnold now. He's playing great football. Last year was not a fluke in Minnesota. He's a good quarterback. Baker Mayfield is one of the top quarterbacks. He's always had the arm strength. Why were these guys taken first in Mayfield's case and third in Darnold's case? They have talent. There's no question about it. Why was Mac Jones a first-round pick? By the end of it with Belichick, it just didn't work. It didn't fit. And they didn't have anything around him. They didn't have offensive linemen. They didn't have receivers. They didn't have anything. And even Drake May, their offensive line is a little bit better. The receivers with Diggs, who had a great night, a little bit better. But they still need offensive talent. So to see what Drake May is doing is pretty impressive. But the way Mac Jones is playing right now, it's a lot of people are talking about or whispering, hey, is Brock Purdy really better? Is Brock Purdy really better than Mac Jones? And, the first game that Mac Jones did that, I thought to myself, this is stupid talk. Stop. Stop this stupid talk. And the second game, I kind of, Then you get into the third game and the way that he played, especially given his injuries and the way that and his toughness and all those kind of things. Believe me, there's going to be teams lined up. So I think NFL personnel evaluators, especially the teams that are constantly at the bottom of the league, that are constantly looking for quarterbacks and thinking they're going to get the next great rookie. And look, some of them are starting to play some really good football. But I think you got to start looking at these guys. And look, Daniel Jones is another one. I totally forgot him. They win again today. The Raiders are atrocious. They win again today. Daniel Jones looks awesome. So think about it. Baker Mayfield was once a bust, not anymore. Sam Darnold was once a bust, not anymore. Daniel Jones, once a bust, not anymore. These guys are, if Mac Jones once a bust, I don't know, maybe it takes a little bit more than 3 games to convince me that Mac Jones is what a lot of people are saying he could be. But I guarantee you that in the offseason, whether Mac Jones plays more or not, hell, if I'm the 49ers, I hope Brock Purdy comes back because I might be able to get a first-round pick, definitely a second-round pick at this point for Mac Jones. The team's going to be looking at it going, wait a minute, what did we overlook here? Hey, maybe New England was a shitty place to be when Mac Jones was there. They weren't good. So when you're in a bad situation, nobody puts that on the team. Everybody goes, Baker's a bust. Darnold's a bust. Well, the Jets always sucked, and the Browns always suck. And the Patriots, when Mac Jones was there, sucked. And the Giants, when Daniel Jones, for the most part, they won a playoff game with Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones has always had arm strength, athleticism. There's a reason he's smart, went to Duke. And there's a reason why he was picked where he was picked. He's not a complete jackass. And all of a sudden he goes to a decent place. Shane Steichen's a good offensive mind in Indianapolis. Gets himself a couple of good receivers. Got a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. Quentin Nelson is there. All of a sudden you're looking at it going, he just got himself a tight end this year and Tyler Warren. You're going, hey, you know what? If you have a decent play caller, a pretty good organization that's been successful in the past, knows how to do things, A, B, C, D, and you bring in that guy, it's like all of a sudden, I mean, we're talking about 5 guys who have been completely rehabbed. And in terms of Mayfield, Darnold, Jones, well, maybe not Mac Jones because it's 3 games, but I mean, those other guys that I mentioned, they're completely rehabbed. And there's going to be a team that's going to call the 49ers at the end of the year. If I'm the Bengals, I'd call them right now and go, if Brock is healthy, what are the Bengals if they have Mac Jones? I mean, they're not what they were with Joe Burrow, but man. But anyway, whole point is teams got to start looking at quarterbacks in the way that they're developing their quarterbacks, and don't just go out and get a rookie. Go out and say to yourself, okay, are we sure that these first rounders are busts? I mean, you got to take a look at these guys and say, in what situation? Now, look, a guy like Trey Lance, who's backing up Justin Herbert with the Chargers, I don't know, the way Brock's been, the way Mac's been. I mean, guys like that, you're like, well, if that guy can't make it. So anyway, I know I went long on number 1 there, but Seahawks throwbacks. And not only that, by the way, let me add this to the stage one more time. Look at the uniform matchup. I mean, I wanted to talk about Darnold and Mayfield, but that's they both came in 1976, 50-year franchises. By the way, I had been to the Kingdom many, many times. The Kingdom is no more, but I'm just saying when the Seahawks first came in with those uniforms, I was there and saw those things. And the creamsicles, even close up, I've been to Bucs games with those creamsicles, covering those games. Man, those are nice up front. So that is one of the best uniform matchups you could ever have, but that's the 1976 rematch, if you did not know. Number 2 on the list today for top 5 stories, the Ravens are 1-4. They're toast. Even in that really bad division, Lamar Jackson didn't play. Do you think Lamar Jackson's the MVP? They got beat today by the Texans 44-10. And I like D'Amico Ryans, and they've got some defensive guys on that team, and maybe they're back, and C.J. Stroud was very good today. But, my God, Cooper Rush, who, when he was in Dallas backing up Dak Prescott, he wasn't horrible. Threw 3 interceptions today. They couldn't move the ball at all, and they couldn't defend. And that's the problem in Baltimore. It's, yeah, okay, Lamar Jackson's out, and you missed him. But you gave up 44 points to the Texans. Now, 3 interceptions don't help, but they've been one of the worst defenses in football to start the season. And to think that the Baltimore Ravens could be one of the worst defenses in football is unbelievable. John Harbaugh's team, and, Baltimore, to me, is the AFC version of the 49ers, where you look at the whole thing and you just say, well, every year they're going to be good. Like, you don't even really have to think about it. And that division's not great. I mean, Cleveland lost today, the early morning game, to Minnesota. Minnesota came back and won that 21-17. Pittsburgh is average to me. They're not anything special. They're not going to make noise. They might win that division by default, but I don't think they're going to make any noise in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers has been a little bit better than I expected, but they're not great. And Cincinnati's nothing without Joe Burrow. So, if you're going to climb out of a 1-4 hole, I guess the Ravens could be that team to do it because of the division they play in. It's not a very good division. But history shows you that 1-4 is not going to happen. You're not going to the playoffs. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. And if this team was better defensively, I could see it. If they were a typical Ravens team defensively and had just lost Lamar Jackson for a couple of games, and I would think to myself, Cooper Rush is a decent backup. No, not today. So they got absolutely smoked by a Texans team that really a lot of people were like, D'Amico Ryans is in trouble here. All of a sudden they've won a couple of games. They blow out the Ravens. And like I said, I think the Ravens are done at 1-4, not just because Lamar Jackson's hamstring, which he could come back at any point, but defensively they can't stop anybody. And it blows my mind because, Kyle Hamilton is still there. They got a lot of the guys that were on that team. And a lot of people are calling for Lewis Orr, calling for his job because remember, Mike McDonald was there. Mike McDonald went to Seattle. Lewis Orr was, I think, coaching linebackers, and then he became the defensive coordinator. And look, they've lost some guys defensively. There's no doubt. The Ravens have a ton of injuries. But still, to have the worst defense in the league with still, they've got enough guys defensively to be better than they've been. But I think Baltimore at 1-4, they are done. So that's number 2 on the big stories of the day. Number 3, I got into the Broncos and the Eagles a little bit earlier, so I won't spend too much time on it. But like I said, from 2 standpoints, the Broncos had a couple of losses, like I said, to the Chargers and the Colts at the last second. They could be an undefeated football team. They've got a good enough defense. They're running the football. Sutton has been off to a really good start. Denver is a team to watch in the AFC, and if someone's going to dethrone the Chiefs finally in the AFC West, it looks like it could be the Denver Broncos. Now, I don't ever count out Patrick Mahomes. The defense is going to come around. There's no doubt about it for me. But with the Chiefs, the one thing I would fear, let's say I'm Denver or even the Chargers, who have kind of the last couple of weeks had the wheels fall off a little bit, but I think they'll still be there because Jim Harbaugh can coach. But they're going to go out, I think, Kansas City, and they know what the window's like. And when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to just have an aged Travis Kelce and take your chances on the receivers they have. I was thinking they were going to get Tyreek Hill before Hill had the major injury. But I think that there's going to be somebody out there receiver-wise that the Chiefs are going to go out and get. And I think that they'd give up. I mean, again, if you're the Chiefs, you just get in the playoffs and you're going to have a late round. It's going to be a late round pick anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs swung for the fences with Mahomes and tried to get themselves another receiver because they are lacking offensive talent. And everybody bitches and moans and says, this quarterback, this quarterback, this quarterback. I have not met a quarterback yet, seen a quarterback yet, that can be a great quarterback without weapons. They need offensive linemen. They need receivers. He's got Andy Reid, but their offensive line has not been good over the last couple of years. Mahomes is having to move too much, even though he throws well on the run, and they just don't have enough good receivers. I mean, Travis Kelce is obviously past his prime. He can have a great game every now and then, but he's not what he was. And then receiver-wise, nobody's scaring anybody. Kansas City's receivers aren't scaring anybody, and they're going to go out and get somebody. So that's going to be a good division. And I think Denver is a real team, and they showed that today in Philadelphia. Even though, by the way, I'm thinking at the end of that thing, are they going to get that field goal blocked at the end to win that game? But the Broncos come back from a 17-3 deficit and win that game. Again, to just show you the graphic right there, if you didn't watch the game today, they come back. Philly's up 17-3 at home against Denver, and Denver comes back. That is story number 3. Story number 4, the Jets are winless, and I can't decide if the Raiders or the Jets are the worst team since New Orleans got off to Schneid and the Titans got off to Schneid. And I'll show you that in just a second. One of the weirdest 2 plays, actually, that lost that game for the Cardinals. If any of these 2 games go the other way, then the Cardinals beat the Titans today. They were up 21-3 at one point. They were up 21-6 at half, and they lose to the Titans in the strangest way possible. But let me just go back to the Jets for a minute. I like Aaron Glenn, but certain guys are head coaches, certain guys are coordinators. Remember, he was the defensive coordinator in Detroit, and they're just off to an atrocious start. And it's so hard to change. The hardest thing in sports to change is a losing organization, just changing the flow and changing the vibe and everything. And now they're off to 0-5. And what players start to do at this point is you're a brand new coach. And you come in and you're pissing vinegar and you're spitting fire and you're jacked up. And then training camp, it's like, okay, I'll believe this guy. I'll go with this guy for a minute. I'll buy what he's selling here for a minute. But then all of a sudden you go to 0-5 and it's not working, and guys start to splinter and they start to think and they start to go, I'm not going to be here next year anyway, and all these kind of things. And they start to not believe the message. And because the Jets have lost for so long, it's a bad situation. And then what starts to happen too is if they continue to lose at this level, then all of a sudden they start thinking, okay, well, Justin Fields isn't going to be here because even though, and I'm looking at the numbers here, Justin Fields today, nice numbers, 32 of 46, 283, 2 touchdowns. But the problem is the Jets were down so much that when you look at those numbers, they're just skewed. Dallas was crushing, was 30-3 at one point, and all those numbers are just a bunch of fake trash numbers because Dallas is playing just soft zone, and it's like, go ahead, throw the ball. Justin Fields is a runner. He's never going to be a great passer in this league. It's been proven time and time again that if you're going to be a quarterback at the highest level in the NFL, running the ball is great every once in a while, but you have to win from the pocket to win in this league. And the problem has been, and Robert Saleh gets fired with the Jets. Well, at least with Robert Saleh, the Jets had a defense. Now they have nothing. They have no defense. They have no offense. It's going to start to splinter. He's not going to be fired. Brian Callahan just saved his job in Tennessee. I think Mike McDaniel is going to be the first coach that's going to be fired. But the Jets have nothing. And if you looked at New England tonight, for example, New England over the last couple of years has at least had a defense. Gerard Mayo is a defensive guy. They bring in Mike Vrabel. He's a defensive guy. So Vrabel is kind of a in the trenches kind of a guy like he was with the Titans. So you can see where the Patriots are going to get better. They were good defensively. They're waiting for Drake May to come around. Again, I'm not saying New England's a playoff team, but they're 3-2. They just beat the Bills at home. You can see that they're starting to build. You look at the Jets and you're going, what are they? Justin Fields is not a long-term answer. They've got some nice offensive pieces. Love Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall is not bad. Quentin Williams is still there. I mean, they've got some defensive pieces, but they're just all over the place. And they're gonna get worse and worse and worse, and then everybody's gonna start talking about the number 1 pick, and Justin Fields is gonna go somewhere else, and blah blah blah, and they're gonna start over again. Because what are they gonna have? A rookie quarterback? Well, didn't they just have one a couple of years ago? And Zach Wilson. I mean, it's the same old thing. Okay, Zach Wilson didn't work out. We go Aaron Rodgers. We blow out Aaron Rodgers. We go to Justin Fields. Oh, Justin Fields isn't a pocket quarterback. Oh, we're gonna be so bad. We're gonna take a first-round pick, and you just hit the reset button constantly. So if you're Aaron Glenn, you're 5 weeks into this thing, and you're thinking, how long am I gonna last around here? Because you can't change losing. Changing a losing culture is so difficult. And you start 0-5, guys are already going, this guy can't coach. This is his first gig. And if it goes this bad, it's going to be his last gig. So the Jets, the only winless team, that is number 4 on the list. And like I said, I've been talking about May Day, number 5. Drake Maye's coming out party, 13 for 14 in the second half against the Bills. I thought the Patriots had no chance in this game. No chance in this game. And for them to go from week 1 losing to the Raiders to now, who are maybe the worst team in the league along with the Jets, to now going into Buffalo, and the way that Drake Maye played, and again, 13 for 14 in the second half, overall 22 of 32, 73 for Drake Maye. And he made a play. I don't know if you saw this in the Sunday night game. He threw a dart to the sideline on that final drive as well. As the guy's got the arm, he's got the athleticism. He's got the strength, as he showed on that throw to Diggs. If this team could get some more offensive talent around him, they need a couple more offensive linemen. They need another receiver or two. New England could start challenging Buffalo. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, even though they got the win. But clearly they're the second best team in the division, the Patriots. So those are your 5 main stories today. Bucks and Seahawks, Darnold v. Mayfield, who knew? Ravens 1-4. They could be toast, although that division is not very good. The Broncos could be the sleeper in the AFC. They were down 17-3 to the Eagles. They come back and win. Eagles, Bills both lose tonight. No more undefeateds. Speaking of defeated, the Jets are the only team that are winless. And May Day / May night as they beat the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Those are your 5 top stories of the day. Let me throw you a couple of things with this because we got some studs and duds in a minute. But I told you I would talk about quarterbacks a little bit more. How tall is Doug Gabriel, the former South Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon quarterback? He's listed at 5'11", but Carson Wentz is 6'5". So is Gabriel taller than Kyler? I don't know that he is, and he certainly doesn't have the speed and athleticism of Tyler, but he was captain check down today. It was his first start. Did not play badly, did not play poorly, but they had the lead. Minnesota comes back and wins in the early game, 21-17, if you did not see that game. But, I mean, I was like, what is that right there? That is, that's Kyler size. That's pint size is what that is. So I wanted to show you that. All right, let's get to studs and duds. Like I said, Baker, 29 of 33, 379. The reason he's over Darnold, he gets the win. Ibuka, he's a steal of the draft right now. And you start talking about Ohio State receivers, and I know, but he and Jackson Smith and Jigba were absolutely great. In fact, let me get their numbers right off the gate because they were both incredible. But Ohio State receivers are killing it in the league, and there's no doubt that's wide receiver you. Emeka Ibuka today against Seattle, 7 for 163 and a touchdown at a long of 57. Be nice if Seattle would cover him, which a lot of times they didn't. Stephon Diggs, like I said, had 10 for 146. Kendrick Bourne of the 49ers, don't forget him, had a career night on Thursday night, 10 for 142. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba had 8 for 132 and a touchdown. And he had a 53-yarder. Both of those guys from Ohio State, they dueled it out today. So Ohio State, man, they are just turning it out. I'm trying to see who else. Them and LSU, obviously, but I'm trying to see who else had the big day from anybody else. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 98, another Ohio State guy. Anybody else? I mean, it's unbelievable what those two did today. And look, I'm not saying that Ibuka's going to the Hall of Fame or anything, but for him to fall to 18, and he was just kind of always overshadowed. I mean, he was on those teams with Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr., and he was always like a second or a third wide receiver. The kid's really good. And then Baker Mayfield, I don't know if you saw the postgame of that game. That was the game of the day, the 38-35 Bucks win over the Seahawks, that shootout. Baker Mayfield was just saying how Ibuka is so grounded, such a good player. I mean, if you needed a receiver and you didn't take him ahead of the Buccaneers at 18, I mean, you just whiffed. I mean, the kid really looks like the real deal. And it's funny how those things happen where they're just not the flashiest. And it's not that I don't think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to turn into a really, really, really good wide receiver. He just has mental lapses. He looks like he's kind of jogging a lot of times, and he's probably not. He's just that athletic and looks that smooth. But, man, you start looking at guys like Ibuka and the plays that they're making and everything, and you're like, I'd have thought Marvin Harrison Jr. wouldn't have been the best of that bunch. Ibuka, Smith and Jigba. I mean, these guys are serious. They're really good. So, anyway, I put Ibuka up there just because they win. So, again, 7 for 163 in that touchdown. This is one that kind of makes me laugh. Rico Dowdle, who was with the Cowboys last year, and they had absolutely no running game. Tennessee gets the win. And let me show you a couple of highlights from that. But 23 for 206 and a touchdown. But this is what was crazy. So, Amari Mercado, for the second consecutive week, remember this happened last week as well, trying to go over the goal line, and he lets the ball go early. And I got to be honest with you, I have no idea why guys do this. Just hang on to the ball. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I was a head coach and a guy did this. It's one of the dumbest things you could do. Like, I'm at the goal line, I'll just flip the ball up in the air. Like, this used to never happen. Like, guys would hang on to the ball, they'd spike the ball, they'd take it to the sidelines, they'd dunk it over the goalpost, like whatever. But this whole thing of like, I'm just going to casually flip the ball, it cost them the game. Because I don't know if you watched the game, but they're up 21-3. They're up 21-6 at the half. 2 plays lost from these games. 2 of the weirdest plays you're going to see. For the second consecutive week, you saw one of these.
Short. First down. DeMarcado off to the races. 20-10 touchdown.
So you can see right there, L'Jarius Sneed, who was running with him, saw right away that he'd flipped the ball. And again, here's the short version of it. You can see right there, he flips it ahead of the goal line. And I just don't get it. I don't even know what to say about it. It's so stupid. And you could tell right there, Sneed's going, no, he flipped it. He's kind of reaching for it, trying to knock it out, Leon Lett style, but he just lets it go. It didn't get knocked out. He just kind of flipped it up there, and it cost him the game because he scores right there, and the game's over. At that point, it was 21. I think it was 21-9, I believe, at that point. But anyway, if he gets that, they win. It's not even close. And then this is the weirdest touchdown I've ever seen. So it's an interception. It's almost like a holy roller, Raiders and Chargers back in the day. What's that, 78? Watch this. This is maybe the weirdest. I don't know if this will get topped this year. The weirdest touchdown of the year. And this is the other play that allowed Tennessee to win this game today.
Everyone covered, slings it back. It's deflected and picked. Taylor Demerson, and then the football came out. Who recovers? Tennessee for the touchdown in a crazy sequence.
And, of course, that's Tyler Lockett, the former Seahawk. And you saw Brian Callahan, the head coach, who I would say was going to be the coach that was going to get fired first in the NFL this year. But it's going to be Mike McDaniel, which I'll show you in just a minute. But he's on the field going, are you kidding me? So those 2 plays lose the game for the Cardinals. They're easily up. They're winning. It's 21-6 at the half. They got it. And then Mercado going over the goal line again, flips the ball too early. So that's a touchback. Tennessee gets the ball. And then a crazy play in which Cam Ward throws an interception. If the Cardinals just retain possession, if he just stays down right there, Cardinals win the game. Nope, he fumbles it through about 3 or 4 players, and Tyler Lockett, the former Seahawk, recovers it. And then the Titans get a field goal at the end of the game. Joey Slye, the former 49er kicker, who's like the biggest, most muscular kicker I've ever seen in my life, he kicks it through, and now the Cardinals all of a sudden are sitting there going, wait a minute, weren't we just 2-0? And now they're 2-3. Seattle beat them on a last-second field goal. They could have won that game at home last Thursday. And then, of course, they get beat by the Titans, a team that had not won and probably was going to fire their coach very shortly, Brian Callahan, if they hadn't won that game. But Callahan and Tennessee get the win in one of the weirdest ways that you will ever see. But still, the flipping of me, when guys flip the ball, I'm just looking at it like, what are you doing? So anyway, there you go. We'll go down. I just did that because the Dowdle rushing of 23 for 206 and a touchdown. First win, Saints and the Titans. The Saints beat the Giants. Talk of the town last week was Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo, both fumbled today. And Jackson Dart's fumble, I think I have it here. It's unbelievable. Rookie's going to rook, man. That's just the way it goes. He didn't play poorly, did throw a couple interceptions as well, but 3 turnovers by the quarterback today. And they bench Russell Wilson, and this is just what's going to happen. If you're a Giants fan, this is just what's going to happen when you have a rookie quarterback. He's very athletic. He scrambled a couple of times, made some nice runs in his first start, but rookie's going to rook.
All right, Adam, thank you. On first down, Dart to the air. Was looking deep for Robinson, not home. He's got all day. Now he's going to run, and he lost the football. It slipped right out of his hands, and the Saints have it. Cameron Jordan.
So the ball slips right out of his hands. He doesn't get hit by anybody. It's just lack of ball control. That's what guys are going to do. Cam Scatterby fumbled it at a key point, and so a couple of weeks ago they're on national TV, and Scatterby's doing backflips and all this kind of stuff, and Jackson Dart wins a game last week against the Chargers, who at that point was undefeated, and everybody's all excited. But that's what happens with rookies. I think Dart's going to be a really good quarterback in this league. I like his athleticism. He has a lot of confidence. He has a lot of character. I think Scatterby is a nice back, can catch the ball, can run the ball, runs over people, had a hell of a block in this game. But they undid it. They lost the game themselves. I mean, you take away those two fumbles, we can do that in any NFL game, and they're right in that against the Saints. But the Saints get their first win today. And like we said, Tennessee got their first win, so the only win this team is the Jets. Not a lot of people talking about Dak, and everybody knows what's going on with the Cowboys, but just a nod to Dak, because I'm sure all the talking head shows in the morning will do this. But he was great today. I know it was the Jets, but 18 to 29, 237, 4 touchdowns. I don't know who the MVP is. A lot of people were hitting me up earlier going, what do you think of it? I don't know who the MVP is right now. It's far too early for that, but Dak's playing really good football. So a guy who's constantly hit like a pincushion in Dallas, because, again, I worked in Dallas, and it's all they want to talk about is Dak, and whoever the quarterback is, et cetera. He's playing good football. And the fact that they win or lose, I mean, when they win, obviously he's really good, but he hasn't been the reason that they've lost this year. Dak's played really good football, and he's been one of the better players in the league. And I always like to give a stud to a defensive player, and this guy always seems to be underrated, although he got a big contract, so maybe he's not. He doesn't care what we think. Nick Bonito, 2.5 sacks. He's got 7 on the season, and he got Jalen Hurts 2.5 times today. And so for as much talk about, what happened offensively and what they did and made plays and all these kind of things, Nick has 7 sacks on the season, and he's one of the best pass rushers in the game, and he doesn't seem to get enough credit. Like I said, when I saw those joint practices with the 49ers, he absolutely tears it up. So there he is. The Cardinals, the duds, Mercado, we already played that for you. The Mark Sanchez situation, have you heard about this? So apparently on Friday night, he's in Indianapolis, of course, broadcaster, former USC and butt fumble Jets quarterback. And let me share my screen with you. And he didn't like where this trucker was parked. I guess this guy, they're in Indianapolis. And again, he was going to call the game for Fox, Raiders and Colts. And this guy was parked, and I didn't even know this was a business, but I guess they recycle kitchen grease or something like that. So when restaurants close, this guy goes around, he's got a big truck, and he recycles this stuff. It's his job. And Sanchez clearly had been overserved, gets in this guy's face, and he's fighting with this guy, and I guess like choking the guy. And the guy's like fearing for his life, I guess. And he pulls out a knife and he stabs Mark Sanchez. And so Sanchez has been released from the hospital, had some pretty critical injuries, bad injuries, a lot of blood. I guess he went up after he got stabbed. He went up to like this bar and was hitting on the window, and the bartender lets him in, and Sanchez is bleeding all over the place. And he goes to the hospital, as did this truck driver. In fact, let me share my screen and show you this. But then Sanchez gets out of the hospital and he goes directly to the police station, and he's the one being charged, even though he got stabbed in the stomach. So just a really strange story. But let me pull this story up here. Is this the Indianapolis one right here? Yeah. So this is the story right here. That's the trucker, obviously. So you see the side of his face? Like this is from Fox 59, obviously, in Indianapolis. But that's the trucker. He's in the hospital. There's the quotes right there. The man told police Sanchez became agitated at the location of his truck, started harassing him and pursuing him, then entered his truck and threatened him. The driver responded with pepper spray, which appeared to have only minimal effect, and then pulled out a knife because, quote, this guy's trying to kill me. He's talking about Sanchez, and there's the trucker right there. So anyway, Sanchez in some trouble in Indianapolis, and one of the weirdest stories that you're ever going to see, as he got into it with a trucker. And now I don't know what his future is with Fox. And I got to be honest with you, man, I've had Sanchez on my radio show a number of times, and he's really good. I mean, you may not like Mark Sanchez, the player, wasn't a great quarterback, maybe came out too early, whatever your thoughts are on Mark Sanchez. I thought he was a really good and insightful broadcaster, but his career might be over with Fox. I mean, he's lucky to be alive, but his career might be over with Fox. So that's just a really strange story. So that's one of our duds tonight. Mark Sanchez situation. We'll follow that for you and keep you up to date on it. Told you about the Ravens being 1-4, and Cooper Rush, who I remember I can't remember the game, but he was back up to Dak. His family came into town. He played really well. And then all of a sudden, you just don't know with backups sometimes. Backups are so huge in this league. I mean, you see the 49ers, they're 4-1. Mac Jones is 3-0. And then Cooper Rush comes in there, throws 3 interceptions. They could beat 44-10. And so if you're the Ravens, you're like, hey, Lamar, you sure that hamstring's not okay? Because your season depends on backups. Jake Browning can't do anything. I mean, I know that he was okay last year with Cincinnati. I think he was 3-3 as a starter, whatever it was. If I'm Cincinnati, I got to go out and get a starter. Jake Browning can't do this. My season's over. So anyway, depending on, like I said, the defense is really bad for the Ravens, but how long is Cooper Rush going to have to play? That's huge. And then the Duds, no more undefeateds, and the Eagles go down, as do the Bills on Sunday Night Football, if you're just joining us. Thanks for joining us on Pro Football Wire, all the teams, all the time. We're giving you the Sunday night Game 5, or Week 5, I should say, recap. Let's share the screen a little bit and give you a little bit more, and then we'll give you our Week 5 Super Bowl matchup. We'll do this every week to end the show, but let me give you a couple of more things that are going on. So again, if I missed any scores, let's go down them real quickly. As I told you, Sunday Night Football, Drake May Day, 23-20 to get that last second field goal. Minnesota was down a lot of that game. They come back. That was the early one, the 6 a.m. Pacific time where I am, 21-17. The Raiders might be the worst team in football, or it's the Jets who haven't won. Like I said, Dart and Scotty both fumble, and the Giants lose to the Saints. Saints get their first win. Cowboys really cruised to that victory, as you can see in the fourth quarter, or the second half, really. They score 16 in the fourth quarter, 37-22. It really wasn't that close. It was 30-3 at one point, and Dak was very good. Denver was down 17-3. They beat the Eagles. So the Eagles are no longer no longer undefeated, 21-17. I'm going to show you a Mike McDaniel here in a minute. I think he's going to get fired. It could be this week, 27-24, losing to the Panthers, who aren't horrible. I mean, you look at the Panthers, 2-3. I'm still not a Bryce Young guy, but they're not horrible. There's that Ravens score, 44-10. CJ Stroud going back to his rookie year with those 4 touchdown passes. He was really, really good. The Ravens and Cooper Rush, 3 interceptions. The crazy game that I showed you, Titans over the Cardinals, all of a sudden a 2-0 Cardinals team at 2-3. Game of the day was Bucs and Seahawks, Baker Mayfield versus Sam Darnold, the first and third picks for the 2018 draft. The Lions roll the Bengals. That offense is absolutely cooking for the Lions, 37-24. And again, the Chargers, who were undefeated a couple of weeks ago, they were up 10-0 on the Commanders. And it's not like Jaden Daniels. You can see the Jaden Daniels numbers right there. They're not outstanding, but to just have him back in the house and starting 27-10, 27 unanswered. We know that 26-23 with the 49ers stopping the Rams on that fourth down. That was Thursday. And then the Monday nighter, maybe it's better than you think. You looked at the schedule and you thought to yourself, Chiefs at the Jags, that's not going to be a good game. But Jags are sitting there at 3-1 and the Chiefs sitting there at 2-2. That's going to be a good game. I'd probably still take the Chiefs in that game, but it's probably going to be a little bit closer than we think. So there's a couple of things on the NFL schedule. Let me just real quickly go through a couple of guys. If you were a fantasy person, some of the guys who did, let's see, that's the Sanchez thing. Those are weekly stat leaders. So there you go. There's your weekly stat leaders. That was Thursday with Stafford, like we said, second and fourth most yards, Mayfield and Darnold. And look at that. 3 quarterbacks, 2, 3, and 4 in that list, all rehab-type quarterbacks. Dowdle is the guy that I showed you for Carolina. I said Tennessee, for Carolina against Miami, and yet he was in Dallas, and they couldn't get a running game going. That was absolutely crazy. Judkins is a guy to look for. Cleveland, he had all those problems, and he got to camp late. He was the last pick to sign in the NFL draft, but he had a great game today, 110 yards rushing. Abuka, we talked about. Bourne was on Thursday. Diggs had those he actually had 10. I should reset that. He had 10 catches on the night. Smith and Jigba. So look at those Ohio State receivers as well. So they were very tough, and then the defensive leaders as well. So there you go. There are your guys. Let me just see real quick, receiving-wise. Let me just click that real quick because I want to look at how those guys did. There you go. So, yeah, Diggs was second. He had 10 catches on that. Bourne, Smith, and Jigba. So 1 and 4 were from that Seattle game. There you go. So there you go. There are some guys who were good as far as the stats are concerned. And then let me finally give you some standings. We'll take a look at what's going on as far as the standings are concerned through week 5. And, of course, we still got Jacksonville and Kansas City. But again, the Bills with their first loss, look at the Patriots, only one game behind them now. Miami, and I'm going to talk about in just a second in terms of probably first coach fired. You're not going to fire Aaron Glenn just yet. He's in his first year. Like I said, AFC North, I don't think there's any good team in that division. I know that Pittsburgh's at the top. They could get better. That's why I think the Ravens, although I think they're dead in the water, it's not a great division. Colts are for real, man. Daniel Jones is for real. We looked at Jacksonville. That's a big game for them. Houston is starting to come off the mat a little bit, and the Titans are horrible, even though they won today. And then there you go. Chargers at 3-2, lost their last two. Denver, I think, is even better than their 3-2 record. Kansas City is going to have a dogfight in their hand. The Raiders could be the worst team in football. Again, the Jets, I know, are 0-5, but the Raiders are not even competitive. Not worried about the Eagles. Washington gets Jaden Daniels back. Dallas is kind of Giants are still the Giants, regardless of who's starting at quarterback. The Lions are looking impressive. Remember, they lost that opening game to the Packers. They shut down their offense, and since then they've been absolutely great. Vikings 3-2, trying to keep it together. The Bears 2-2. Buccaneers, I think, are my sleeper in the NFC. That's a horrible division. They'll win it with a blindfold on. And then that's a big loss for Seattle today because they could have been and should have been tied with the 49ers at 4-1. The Rams lose again, so they dropped to 3-2. That loss to the 49ers. And then the Cardinals, they look like they could be competitive, but they've lost 3 consecutive, including a horrible effort today against the Titans that I showed you the 2 games at the end. All right, a couple of more things. Does this look like a guy that is walking dead? It sure looks like it to me, and I know Mike McDaniel a little bit, but after they lose to Carolina 27-24, this is Mike McDaniel and those pants that he wears. He is no Tom Landry. A little Neil Diamond for you. That is the sauntering walk of a man who is probably going to be the first coach fired, I believe. I think Mike McDaniel is a dead man walking. Stephen Ross owns the Dolphins, and they're just going through the motions. I know they got a victory last week against a winless Jets team on Monday night with the 2 Monday night games. They won that game, but I mean, Carolina's not a very good football team. You're not getting that win. They look discombobulated, and I like Mike McDaniel. But as I said a little bit earlier, some guys are coordinators, some guys are head coaches. And when Mike McDaniel was quirky and funny and doing all these different things, but they were winning and they went to the playoffs, I think his first year, that was all fine. And the fact that he turned Miami Vice and was wearing the glasses and, wearing the type of clothes that way, and he had kind of fully embraced what Miami is, it was okay. But now they're not competitive. They lose Tyreek Hill. I don't really know what they're doing. Tua's up and down. I just don't know what they're doing and where they are, and they're too proud of a franchise to keep this going. So I think Mike McDaniel is going to be an offensive coordinator for some team. He's going to have to rebuild himself. But the quirkiness, the weirdness when you're losing, when you're 1-4, it just doesn't work. And you could just tell. I saw that video and I was watching it and I'm like, yeah, that looks like a guy who just knows he's done. And Mike McDaniel, when I was covering the 49ers, Mike McDaniel would come out once a week, and he was a funny guy. He was kind of anti-Kyle Shanahan. He was Kyle Shanahan's offensive coordinator, even though Kyle called the plays. Brilliant guy, real smart, around the game for a long time. He was a ball boy for the Broncos when he was like 8 years old. I mean, the guy he's been around the game. He's very smart, Ivy League educated. Like the guy, I mean, he knows the game inside and out, and yet something's missing. The players aren't believing it. And, just because you're a great offensive mind doesn't mean you're a leader of men. Like Jim Harbaugh is not an offensive guy, defensive guy. I know he played quarterback, but a lot of people, when Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers, went, well, what does he do? He's not calling the plays. He's a leader of men. Mike Vrabel tonight, you can just see the difference in the way that the Patriots play. Mike Vrabel is a leader of men. I know that he's a defensive mind. He played defense. He knows defense. But Mike Vrabel is a leader of men. He's organized. You can just tell the way that the Patriots are run now versus what they've been run in the past. They had a rookie head coach in Gerard Mayo last year. It's just not the same thing. You look at like what the Patriots are. Mike Vrabel in Tennessee ran the ball, played tough defense. They were physical. That's what they are already. Jim Harbaugh in the Chargers. I know they've lost 2 in a row, but they've already got, look, we're going to run the ball. Their first draft pick, everybody wanted them to take a receiver. They took a left tackle. That's Harbaugh. They already are a physical football team. That's just, there's certain coaches who are organized, know how to coach, know how to lead men. That's not what Mike McDaniel is. He's a great offensive mind. So there's The league is littered with guys who were either great defensive or great offensive minds, and they couldn't be a leader of men as a head coach. And I think that's Mike McDaniel. I think that Miami is completely lost. I think they got to be counting down the days, and it's just one of those teams that was a proud team at one point, but has been so bad for so long. And I talked about Aaron Glenn the same way. It is so hard to change a losing tradition because that's what players expect year after year after year. Oh, it's going wrong. We're going to lose again. And I think that's what Mike McDaniel is. Great guy, funny, going to be on somebody's staff next year and make their offense much, 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 much better. But he just doesn't seem like a leader of men. And I don't know if it's a physical thing. Mike's a real small guy. I don't know if that's anything. But, when you're winning, the quirkiness, all these different things. And remember he was doing the interview and he ran off the field and all that kind of stuff. Like, that stuff's all cool. If you win, that's fine. Be quirky. Be different. Play with the media. Do all that kind of stuff. It's not quirky, not cute, not funny, not fun when you're 1-4 and you're losing to the Carolina Panthers. So I do think that Mike McDaniel is going to be the first coach fired. Who else do we miss anything else? Mercado, we played that for you a number of times. The weird Tennessee touchdown we played for you. Oh, I didn't play this. This is just totally random. I don't know why I'm playing this, but I'm going to. Oh, I have 2 more things to play for you before our Super Bowl. Don't leave for our Super Bowl Week 5 matchup. And we'll do this every single week to finish the show. This is a bit of hyperbole. I said that this might be the best punt return that didn't count in NFL history. It's probably not, but it's pretty damn entertaining. Watch Ladd McConkey, but there's a hold on the play.
Well, McConkey picks it up. Way might have been roughed. McConkey, though, great return. McConkey is going to go if it holds. McConkey leaps into the end zone.
I mean, that's pretty good. Let's play it again. Let's play
penalty flag as well. McConkey
2 guys got him. 2 more. 3. Jump that other guy. Stayed on his feet. Didn't go out of bounds. Now this is the punter. I get it. It's the punter. So I get it. No, it will not hold up. Spiro Adidas. But anyway, there you go. Did not hold up. But still, I'm not saying it's the best punt return that didn't count in NFL history. But, I mean, he made like 9 guys miss on the play. Now, he jumped the punter. So I don't know how impressive that is, but it's pretty impressive. So one of the best, I'll put it that way, one of the best punt return touchdowns that didn't count in NFL history. And finally, before we give you the Week 5 Super Bowl matchup, here's Rob Gronkowski. Look, I can't even say Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski trying to say Emeka Egbuka and not succeeding. But the best part about it is watch the rest of the guys on the NFL on Fox just laughing at Gronk being Gronk.
Also did it without his #1 wide receiver, Mike Evans. And you got to give credit to this rookie sensation wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, going for over 100 yards.
A big boo.
Emeka Egbuka. I'm getting confused. He's going.
The best part about this, and they tell you this in broadcasting all the time, that when you make a mistake, just keep going. And that's what Gronk tried to do. And the rest of the guys went, no, we're not having it.
Bill also did it without his #1 wide receiver, Mike Evans. And you got to give credit to this rookie sensation wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, going for over 100 yards. Emeka Egbuka. I'm getting confused.
I don't know what he was getting confused about, but anyway, there is Gronk being Gronk. So there you go. Those are your highlights of the day. I don't think I've missed anything for Week 5. We went over the top 5 stories, the studs, the duds, and then here's how we'll do this. And I want your comments underneath here. Hit me up at John Lund Radio right now. And then we've got the new Twitter up right now, though, at PFB Wire. So we don't have anybody on Twitter yet. So go over to Pro Football Wire. And if you're on Twitter watching right now /X, that'd be a great place to go because we post all football stuff, all the highlights, all the talk, all the stuff. So if you're on X right now and you're at John Lund Radio watching this, because we're going to start putting this on at PFB Wire, but make sure you follow us at PFB Wire on X. At PFB Wire on X. It's at Pro Football Wire on YouTube. Try to keep it straight. At PFB Wire on X, at PFB Wire on Instagram, and at Pro Football Wire on YouTube when you subscribe to the channel there. So anyway, studs, duds, top 5 stories, and then what we'll do to finish every show every Sunday. We'll do shows every day, but every Sunday when we recap the week. So we recap Week 6 next week. We'll have probably a different Super Bowl matchup because I'm just going to every week. This is the best 2 teams right now, and so that's essentially what this is. These are the best 2 teams, And right now, I think it's Detroit in the NFC, which is my first time all year that I've gone away from the Eagles. But I think the NFC's best team right now is Detroit. They lose to Green Bay to start the year. Dan Campbell came out and said, hey, our offense is going to get better offensively. And this is impressive because think about it. They lost Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator of the Bears. They lost Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator of the Jets. Frank Ragnow, their center, retires. You come back, you get off to a slow start. And again, defensively, yeah, we'll see. But Aiden Hutchinson is back. Remember last year he has the big injuries and they just didn't have enough juice on defense. But I think Detroit in the NFC right now, and again, you can disagree with this, hit me right underneath here or at John Lund Ready, or what I'd love you to do is make sure that you hit us up on X at PFB Wire and tell me who your Super Bowl teams are. Who would you put right now as of week 5? Now next week, week 6, we'll do it again. But as of week 5, NFC, I think the best team in the NFC right now is the Lions. And I think that in the AFC, they're going to make it so easy on me because I was going to say the Bills, right? I was going to say the Bills. By the way, I'll give a shout to the Buccaneers for their win because they make me a little bit nervous because they can defend and they've got Todd Bowles who loves to blitz. And so, I would say the Lions right now, but the Buccaneers are kind of there. And I'm not taking the Eagles out of it just because the Eagles lost today. It's just there's something weird going on with them. There's something going in the locker room and A.J. Brown's going and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just a little bit So I'm not going to go away from the Bills, even though they lost at home to the Patriots tonight. I'm not going to be knee-jerk about it. They're 4-1. If I was going to put a team right on their heels, you got to start looking at the Colts. I know it's Daniel Jones. I know it's early, but they're 4-1. They're playing well. And even though Kansas City is 2-2, I never can take them away. But I'm not going to give it to Kansas City because they're 2-2. But I'm still going to stay with the Bills, 4-1. New England did a great job tonight in getting the victory on the road. But I would still say the Bills are the best team in the AFC despite the loss, to show you that I'm not too knee-jerk. So right now, Lions v. Bills, which, by the way, Lions have never gone to a Super Bowl. Bills have never won a Super Bowl, so something would have to give. So that's just week 5. We'll probably change it next week. But the Eagles are off the perch. Last week I said Eagles v. Bills. This week we'll say Lions v. Bills. And the best team in the AFC will still be the Bills. But I'll tell you got to give a nod to the Colts the way that they're playing. That's probably the only team NFC-wise. The Bucs, the way that they're playing, really good defense. And Seattle couldn't stop them. Remember, Seattle was one of the better defenses coming in. Mike McDonald, after that game, their head coach, who used to be the defensive coordinator with Baltimore, he was saying how he takes the blame, this, that, and the other. I'll tell you, the Buccaneers, and Ibuka especially, they were doing whatever they wanted today against Seattle. For some weird reason, Seattle can't win at home, but they're unbeatable on the road. What is Mike McDonald has won like 9 in a row on the road, but they can't win at home. It's the strangest thing ever. But anyway, they lose today. So give a nod to the Bucs for their win in the NFC, but the Lions are the best team. And in the AFC, the Bills are the best team still, despite the loss of the Patriots. Shout outs to Colts. And why not the Patriots? I thought Drake May was really impressive tonight. So here's what you do. Give me your thoughts on week 5. What did we miss as far as top 5 stories? Give me some studs, some duds, some thoughts. What do you think of my Super Bowl matchup? Or what I'm basically saying is the best team in each conference right this minute. Give me your thoughts on that as well. Hit me up with comments under here. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel at Pro Football Wire. At Pro Football Wire on YouTube. We'll do shows every single night, and we'll do the recaps on Sunday night. But at Pro Football Wire on YouTube. Make sure that if you're watching on X tonight at John Lund Radio, that you just flip on over, because we're just starting the X. So I don't even know if we have any followers on there. But flip over to X so that you can get all your NFL news. We're posting videos and news and all sorts of stuff. It's a great place to get all your NFL news. A great new spot. Just go to PFB, as in Pro Football, PFB Wire, at PFB Wire on X, and we'll be posting all sorts of different stuff. All sorts of all NFL stuff. We'll even throw college football in there because I'm a big college football guy. So we'll be throwing, we'll be doing draft stuff and draft profiles and all sorts of stuff. So that is at PFB Wire on Instagram and X. And on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the like button, and get those alerts on so you know when we have breaking news or anything around the NFL. And that's at Pro Football Wire on YouTube. So a like, a follow, and get those alerts on so that you can make sure that you don't miss anything. That is a full wrap on week 5 in the NFL from John Lund and Pro Football Wire. Have a great Sunday night.